Ęgbę, and welcome to another episode of Talking Ifa with me, Babalawo Salako. In today's episode, I have a very interesting topic I want to take a deep dive on. That is patience. Have you waited too long? Are you getting frustrated? Are you saying, well, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do in this religion or this spiritual practice, and I haven't seen the results I'm expecting? I'm not seeing any results. It seems like the same problems I had when I came, I still have today. So what should I do? So I want to take a deep dive into that today, and I hope and I'm sure that you will have another point of view by the end of this video. So with that being said, let's talk. Greetings. I'm Babalawo Salako. I was initiated as a priest of Ifa and Obatala in Nigeria in 2006, and I've been practicing the Ifa Orisha religion for over 30 years now. My mission is simple: to help those who are new to the religion or lost in the religion. So if that's you, then buckle up and join me. This is Talking Ifa. So, I was watching a video the other day of a sister. I don't recall her name right at the moment, but it was an excellent video. In that video, she was talking about waiting. What do you do when you're waiting? You've joined this religion, you feel and you believe that you're doing everything right? You're coming in, you're taught how to worship and honor your Ori, how to honor and approach your ancestors, your Ęgbę, how to do prayers. You go get divinations, you do your Ęgbęs. You're doing all the things that you believe you should do. You also believe that you're doing all the right things with your Iwa or your character. And because you believe these things, you're getting frustrated. You're saying, wow, I came, I'm going to divination, I'm doing these offerings, I have these problems. And in her example, she said that the problems persisted for months, right? And so there's several months that go by and you still have the problems, and you feel like you've did everything that you should do. Where do you go from there? Now, in her example, she said that then she went and got another divination. And in that divination, the Odu, Otora Ogunda, or Otora Rira came up. And she was told that sometimes your life itself has to become an initiation, meaning there are things that you have to go through, processes that you have to endure to get to a point that you need to be at. She was told in the messages that she received from the diviners, or the diviner, that it's not that the Orisha or the Ęgbę or ancestors had abandoned her or were not there to work with her. It's that they fell back and went silent because they felt that she needed to go through a process of silence, and they wanted to see how she handled that. They wanted her to get to a point that she had to get in tune with her own soul, and they wanted to see what came out of that, right? And if she was able to then process and have the patience or suru or other things there and keep her faith, then at that point, while she was waiting, she said it wasn't that they had abandoned her, is that they were building a foundation, a solid foundation under her while she thought they were gone, and so she could stand firm and be able to handle all the things in the future. Also, that possibly she wasn't ready to handle it, because there's certain things that you can be given like there's a saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Meaning, if a person is not ready for the amount of power or privilege that they receive, then it can harm them or they can harm others with that power. So you have to go through tests there and, to get to where you need to go. And after that period, her blessings started to flow. So several things with that. One, I thought it was a beautiful testament and story that she told. I would recommend watching it. It was very touching. But I want to look at it from different points of view. Now, first thing is, she was saying a perception, her perception or a client of hers perception, that they felt that they were doing everything right. They were doing all the things they were supposed to do. They expected blessings to flow. She also said, even dealing with Ęgbę, her character. Now that's the part I would question, because what I found is most of the time, not all the time, in my opinion, I would argue that most of the time when things are not working for you, it's for a reason, and it's usually for a reason attached to Ęgbę, I-W-A, Ęgbę, meaning character. She felt that she was doing all the right things with her character. But we always have perceptions that we don't always, as humans, we're not always living in reality. We may think we're doing all the right things, but we may not. We may believe that we are ready for something, but we may not really be ready, okay? And so there's many aspects to character, or Ęgbę. One of them is suuru, S-U-U-R-U, meaning patience. Patience is a major part of our character, of Ęgbę, that many of us have shortcomings in. Even me personally, one of my main challenges is always patience, suuru. And I noticed that she said that these bad situations that were occurring to her went on for several months. Well, that right there could be an indication of needing more work with patience, because several months may seem like a long time, but it's not really. I have one of my godsons was telling me a story the other day that he had been going through things and waiting for 10 years, and then things started flowing in for him. But he had patience the whole time, and he kept his faith in Ifa, and he stayed even though he wasn't getting all the things that he was hoping he would get. So if you're saying that a few months is a long time to keep patience, that could be, I'm not saying it is, it depends on what the few months are. If you're going through extreme pain and, 2 days could be a long time. But in general, I'm just speaking in general, if 2 months is or 2 or 3 months is a long time for you or a person, then they have to ask the question, are they really at the level of suuru, part of their character, that they need to be at? Okay, so that's one point. Another point is this. I know that my podcast, I primarily am focused on people who are new to Ifa or lost in Ifa. They joined and they don't really have any guidance. That's my mission here with this podcast. I really want to help those to make sure that you're not lost and go down the wrong direction because they're quote unquote false prophets in this, and I'm saying religion. Some people get irritated and they don't want me to say religion. They say, oh, this is not a religion, and other people say it is religion. But I'll say this. I'm not religiously tied to any of those definitions. You can say it's a religion, or you can say, oh, it's a spiritual practice, or, I could say just the Ifa universe. Whatever makes you happy, I'm not tied to it. Doesn't bother me either way, whether you say it's a religion or not a religion. And I understand the arguments against calling it a religion and those for it. But I'm not going to get into that now. So in this quote unquote religion, well, let me step back a step. In any religion or spiritual practice, this term faith, this concept of faith, it's tricky because on the one hand, faith can be very beneficial to you. If you're in the right path, doing the right thing, and then you have total confidence in that and it's real, faith is very powerful. But if you're going down the wrong path, and I'm not going to call any names, but there's very popular quote unquote religions out here, some of them that are unreal, fake parts to them. And if you put all your faith in that, if somebody comes to you and say, okay, here's 5 religions, which one do you want to get? This one, you go down this path. But if you go down the path of one that's quote unquote unreal, then you're never going to reach a real benefit there, right? You're going down the path. So the question then becomes, how long do you keep going down that path? How long do you have faith in this particular spiritual path or this particular religion before you give up? Well, there's blind faith that you don't need any evidence, just you believe it for whatever reason. Somebody told you and you just believe it, and then you try to follow it as long as you can. But even with that, if you go in with blind faith, when do you lose that blind faith, right? How long do you keep going and you don't see any evidence? Then there's evidence-based faith, where you don't have faith until you've received enough evidence. And if you've seen enough evidence, now you have faith, okay? To me, that's much more solid, and that could be much more beneficial to you. So when you come into something like this, Ifa, Yoruba, or I put it like this Yoruba religion or Yoruba spiritual universe, how long do you stay in it if you don't see any evidence that it really works? How long will you have quote unquote faith before you give up? And that's up to you. I don't have an answer to that for how long you should wait. Because like I said, I am a Awo Ifa priest or Babalawo. I'm also an Obatala priest. And for me, I started seeing evidence early on. I joined my first temple in 1989. And it took a while until I had solid, irrefutable evidence for myself. That I received that in 1999, meaning 10 years. So I was practicing this religion for 10 years before I had solid evidence. But I had enough belief and enough faith in it to keep me in it for that whole 10 years up to that point. But once that happened in 1999, then I was just like, oh, I'm totally sold. There's no going back. I'll never practice any other quote unquote religion or spiritual practice. than this one. So that's me though. I've received that evidence. I received that solid, irrefutable proof and evidence that EFI works. But if you're brand new and you don't have, it's just, to you, it's just another religion or another spiritual practice that you just heard of, or you saw friends, or you've seen it online where a lot of people are doing this. Well, what is this? Out of curiosity, let me check this out. If you don't have anybody in your family or anybody that's practicing it, then you're kind of just coming in out of nowhere, and you don't, you know, you're kind of lost and you're trying to find your way. How long do you stay in this before you leave if you don't get solid evidence? Now, finally, one of the other issues with this that it made me think of watching her video with Faith is people come in with unrealistic expectations. So there are things that are fads. There are things that people say, oh, everybody's doing this, it's cool, let me try this. And one of the things that is extremely popular right now that I see online and people to come to me, you know, because, you know, what I can do for you, it doesn't matter. I mean, I can do divinations for you, do ebos for you. I can give you hands of Ifa, I can give you Ori, Eshu, etc. But all these things, Ifa medicine that I can do for you, at the end of the day, only matters to you based on your situation in your life, what issues you're having, if you feel comfortable that Ifa is helping you. That is either helping erode away at your problems bit by bit, or wiping some out totally quickly. Whichever way it comes, you need to see your own evidence and proof, not mine. And again, I'm not proselytizing. We're forbidden from proselytizing or trying to recruit people to join. So if you're listening to my video, of course, you already interested. I didn't go out and recruit you. So while you're here, I'm going to try to help you. But one of the things that I think people don't see, and I may have to go deeper into this and do another episode, a podcast just strictly on this. I've mentioned it before, but there's so many people that are enamored with Ori. So most of you that watch this, you've heard people say, oh, Ori, I want to find how to get in touch with my Ori, how to worship my Ori, how to find out what's in my Ori to get the good things that my Ori has in store for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is expected, you know, it's normal. But I just want to give you my point of view regarding that. So, of course, the story of Ori, you know, we all choose our Ori before we're born to come here to earth, Ęgbę, from Orun, some people call heaven. And in our Ori, we've chosen the good things or the good paths that we want to achieve or arrive at during our lives here on Ęgbę. But when we come through, before we come through and are born, we all go to the tree of forgetfulness. And so, of course, we forget what we chose. We come through this path, life in Ęgbę, the purpose, one of the purposes of Ifa divination, I should say, is to get us on our path and to try to keep us there if we get regular divinations. By regular, you know, minimum 1 or 2 a year, maybe 1 every 3 months. You know, just regular divinations, I would say at least once or twice a year. And then any major thing or decision you have to make in life, you normally want to go to Ifa. If you're looking for a new job, if you're thinking of changing jobs, if you're thinking of moving to a new house or apartment, You're gonna thinking about starting a new relationship with somebody or breaking off a relationship with somebody, health issues, legal issues, any important things that come up during the year, you should also go to Ifa about that. But it's just regular checkup divinations, at least once or twice a year. Most I would say is once every 3 months, once every quarter if you want to do that. But the thing is this, the Ori represents the pleasure principle. There was a great band that some of you might be too young to know about, Parliament Funkadelic, and one of their P-Funk things they talked about a lot in their music was the pleasure principle. People are all seeking pleasure, the pleasure principle, the good things in life. Our Ori represents the good things that we chose for our life. So that's what we want to seek. But to me, there are two primary pillars of what our life is about. And like I said, I may go into that deeper at another podcast, but one is our Ori, and that's the main one. If you look at it, it depends on the point of view. You know how they say, depending on which side of the elephant you're on, what you're looking at, right? If you're in the front of the elephant, you see the tusk and all that. If you're in the back of the elephant, you see his tail. So these two pillars I'm talking about, for us as humans, we're over here on one side looking at these two pillars, the most important things in our lives or purposes of our lives here on Ęgbę. We want to see Ori. We want to pursue the good life. We want to see the things that make us happy, that give us pleasure, right? The pleasure principle. But the other pillar is Iwa, character. That one represents struggle, our struggles in life, right? We struggle to develop our character. We might struggle with patience. We might struggle with controlling our emotions, controlling our anger. There's a bunch of things that are part of character that we may struggle with. And that's the part that people don't excitedly pursue. But it's mandatory, okay? There's a verse in Ifa that says, wealth or money that you may get without Iwa or character means that money belongs to someone else. A good spouse, wife or husband that you may have or attain. If you don't have good Iwa character, then your wife or husband belongs to someone else. Children that you may get as a blessing. If you have bad character or Iwa, your children belong to someone else. So what that's talking about in Ifa, we have our primary, in Ifa what it says is the best things in life in E-rays are Owo, money first, then a good spouse, husband or wife, then children, then a long life, long healthy life. Those are like the top 4 E-rays that come up normally. So that's why those were the examples. But what it was basically Ifa saying there is you can pursue all the good things in your Ori and you may obtain them, right? How many times do we see people that obtain a lot, but like Ifa says, if they have character issues, they lose them. Look at Diddy, P. Diddy. He obtained all the money in the world, fame, fortune, he's on top doing whatever he wants to do. But apparently he had some major character struggles and issues. And Now his reputation is ruined. He's in prison. Now, so that's just an example. There's a lot of people things happen to when they have character issues that we may not see, so we don't know what's happened to them. But Ifa says, if you get things, because think about those same people, before they were born, they may have chosen an Ori with real good things. They may have chosen Ori to become wealthy, to make millions of dollars. That might have been in their Ori. So they come to Ęgbę, they ignore Iwa character, they just pursue pleasure, the pleasure principle. They obtain what they want, they get a bunch of money, they live in the life. But if they keep ignoring character, Ifa says all those gains they get are temporary. They belong to someone else. So I'm saying all of this about character because all through Ifa, part of being able to obtain the good things in your Ori normally requires working on character or doing certain things with your character to be able to obtain them. Like I said, some people, they may have chose stuff in Ori where they jump right to obtaining things, they just don't keep it. But if you want to keep it, then you need to also work on your character, the struggle. Because nobody gets up in the morning excited, oh, I want to get up and work on my character today, or I can't wait, I'm working on my character. But it's easy to get up and say, oh, I want to get up today, I want to make $1 million, or I want to, go hang out on the beach, or I want to do this or do that. Whatever brings us pleasure, whatever brings us enjoyment. We don't have any problem getting up about that, pursuing the good things in our Ori. But the necessary part is also Iwa. So when I go back to this young sister's story, the part where she said the struggles went on for several months, and two parts. The second part, where the diviner told her that she had to go through this period of silence, that the Risha didn't abandon her, her ancestors didn't abandon her, or he didn't abandon her. They just knew that she had some more development, some more seasoning to go through, so that her depth of wisdom to be able to handle the good things coming to her, she would attain during that period of silence, as long as she kept her faith and didn't give up. But that, to me, those two things indicate that even though she had made the statement that she'd do everything right, including character, and she just said, she doesn't see any reason whatsoever why things weren't working out for her, that the Risha weren't going to help her, and they told her that they needed to go through that seasoning. Well, to me, that's the same thing. She had to go through seasoning of what? Character, whether it be patience or whatever part of her character that she needed to go through during a time period of waiting and trying to see if you have patience, if you have faith that in the Risha ancestors, Ęgbę, your Ori, that things are going to work out. She was being tested. But tests come to our Iwa, our character. During our life, our character is tested. That's what Professor Kolab Mbola, he calls the purpose of our life that we come through here on Ęgbę. He calls it the Iwa Pwele test. Life on Ęgbę for each of us is the Iwa Pwele test, meaning good and gentle character. And when we go through this life, when our life ends and we have to go on Judgment Day to the gates of a room to meet with Ęgbę Mama, the Justice Ram, we are not judged on our Ori meaning we're not judged on did you achieve the things in your Ori. Say for instance, in your Ori it said you would be a brain surgeon. And you went through your life in Ęgbę, either you got on the right path and you became a brain surgeon or you didn't make it. All that's irrelevant on Judgment Day. They're not judging you on whether you achieved the good things in your Ori or not. They're judging us totally on our character, Ęgbę. That's why I say those two pillars, Ori and Ęgbę. To me, those are the two main purposes of our lives. Ori and Ęgbę, the main purpose is Ęgbę, our character. The stick, I would say it like this. We're motivated by pleasure things that bring us pleasure, things that bring us happiness and joy, whether it's money, whether it's whatever. So think about, I remember I used to go to dog races at the track, Greyhound. And when they start the race and they let those Greyhound dogs out the gate and they race around the track, they're racing around the track because they have a fake rabbit. So they have a fake rabbit that they have going around the track. So they open the gate and the rabbit comes out and all the dogs are chasing that rabbit around to the finish line to see who wins. They have to motivate them to be able to run that race. Their motivation is the rabbit. So for me, I would argue that the good things that we have in our Ori, and one of the main reasons we get to choose our Ori and pick good things, what do you want, the good things you want in your life, is to have that rabbit or that carrot in front of us to motivate us to go through the Ęgbę test, because that's the unpleasant part, going through the actual growing of your character. That's one of the most difficult things for anybody to do, is to grow and improve their character. And it's not pleasant. So therefore, if everybody came to Ęgbę, this is just my opinion, if everybody came and was born here in Ęgbę and all we had was, well, you're coming to Earth and, you know, you're just gonna have a tough time your whole life and you just have to work on your character, that's it. That's not enough motivation for most people, right? So in my opinion, us being able to get the good things in our Ori is to motivate us. It's that rabbit, is to say, okay, you're living this life, you can get good things in life, you can have pleasure, you know, you can seek them if you want a lot of money, if you want a lot of relationships, if you want whatever. You want to travel, you want to become, you know, bigwig, Indian chief. Whatever it is that brings you pleasure, that makes you happy, those carrots have to be put in front of us to motivate us to fight through the difficult work of improving our character, our Ęgbę, right? So those are the two pillars. What's the most important? Our Ęgbę. Ori is just there to motivate us, in my opinion. But it makes it very important, because without that motivation, most of us wouldn't do the work. So that's what made me think about when I listened to her podcast. And I'm not criticizing her or anything in her podcast. I thought it was excellent. I loved even the way she did it. It was so emotional and inspiring. But it just made me think about it. And those are the several aspects of what she said that I would see myself as, well, maybe we think that we have it all together and our character is great. We have everything in our character worked out and we're doing all of our spiritual work. We're you know, appeasing our Ori daily and doing prayers and making offerings to our Ori. We're appeasing and going to our ancestors, our Ęgbę, our Orisha, other Orisha. We have our hand of Ifa. You know, we're going to Ifa, we're getting our divinations, doing our Ęgbę. We feel like we're doing everything correctly. But the part that we may be missing out of our own perception or misperception is all of us have work to do on our character. And normally if we're being tested, it's our character, Ęgbę, that's being tested. So I hope you got something out of that today. And I would appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe. And also do us a favor and, tell us where you're watching us from. In the United States, another country, which city, state you're watching from. I'd really like to know that. And if you need me for any help or work or anything, I have my contact information in the description under the video. I have my contact email. If you need help, you need divinations, you need, other kind of help and guidance, then I'm here to help. So again, I pray that everyone has a blessed and prosperous day, week, and month. I pray that your essay, the work, your feet, the work that you need to put in life is in perfect alignment with all those good things that you have in your Ori. Thank you again for joining Iyalode, Ó Dàbọ̀.